And I actually got in a lot of trouble for shoplifting as a kid. Like I got rocked I was just the dude that would always get caught. Like, but a lot of my clothes actually came from there. So not that that's a good thing. Don't rob my Nahmias clothes, but.
I'm Tom Ward, and over the last couple years, I've had the chance to sit down with some of the biggest celebrities and influencers in the world. What I've always found most fascinating is the stories of the businesses that they've built behind the scenes. On this show, you'll get an inside look of what it takes to build a successful business from some of the biggest celebrities, business people, and up-and-coming entrepreneurs in the world. This is The Tom Ward Show.
Hey guys, welcome to the Tom Ward Show, where we talk to the most successful people in the world and they teach us how to elevate our lives. Today we're here with Doni Nahmias. I pronounced it correctly, I think,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Founder of Nahmias Clothing. You're
Yep.
wearing, I think, head to toe. We got sneakers. I see a hat.
Yep.
Your story is pretty inspiring to me because I do homework before these things. And you were just a kid in Santa Barbara. And now, all of a sudden, you're like collabing with Kodak Black. I saw Lewis Hamilton. I was going through your page. You posted a picture of these pants, and Lewis Hamilton, now Sir Lewis Hamilton, said,
Yeah.
I need these.
Yeah.
Like, could you ever have imagined that when you were just the suburban kid growing up?
Not really. Not at all. It's all been a great kind of feedback and overwhelming sensation like this past couple years for sure. Not expected it.
Were you into fashion as a kid?
As a kid, I had a lot of different phases. I think I've lived a lot of different lives. I had my kind of like basketball sporty phase, then my skater kid phase, my youth phase, and like I've lived all these different lives. And early on, I didn't know anything about fashion, didn't love fashion. But I think going into like middle school and high school, I started to really appreciate what people were wearing or look what people were wearing, and started to fall in love with the clothing aspect of things.
Was for me, like, this was a million years ago for me, but I remember as a kid in middle school, like, to a kid, new pair of sneakers was like a new Ferrari. Like, as a kid, you can't afford. That's how I looked at it. Like,
For sure.
you can't afford a car. Like, that's your.
For sure.
And like if a kid had a new pair of Jordans or something, like they were the star that week of the school.
Yeah.
Was there certain piece of clothes? Was it sneakers? Was it hats? Like, was there certain thing that stood out to you?
I mean, at that time, I think middle school, everything was still really fresh, and I was really into this skating culture. And so when it was time for new shoes, and my dad would try and take me to like a Payless, I was like, Dad, like, I'm not, like, I refuse. Like, I'm going to school in socks before I go there. And like, we would fight to go to this spot called the Church of Skating and like pick out some shoes. I'd be like, I'll do some chores around the house, whatever it is, but I need some nice shoes. Yeah, I guess you could say that. I wasn't on the Jordans yet. Not yet.
What were the early brands looking back? You were kind of like a skater kid. Like, what were the brands you were into?
At that time, it was really the silhouettes and the brands. So it was like Shorties, Dickies, Pro Club, AAA, like all those like just very classic silhouette fits. And then what color you wearing, how are you stacking your shirt, where's your pant lay on your leg, is it cuffed, all that. Not as much the brand, but kind of like how you were wearing things.
You're different. I think like me, I was never thinking about stacking shirts or like, now I do. Now I think about the length of pants and stuff, but like I didn't think about that then. Did you realize you were different than your friend when you were thinking about the length of a pant and they were probably like, I don't know, they're just pants?
A bit, not like, for sure. I think I overanalyze things a bit more than my friends, or like, I don't think they might even notice like, yo, those pants fit perfect on you. And like, I would notice that.
But you would never say that.
Yeah, I'm like, why do those fit so good on you? Mine look like shit. Like, so I was making a point to like really try on and make sure like mine need to fit just like that. Like, right, drag a little bit, like just wide enough. But I don't think they realize some people would just look goofy and some look cool naturally. Yeah. And I would kind of notice that, and just kind of want to take that for myself.
So you're a kid and your mom buys most of your clothes, as kids, right?
Yeah.
What do you do when the length's not right? It's not hitting the shoe the way you want. What do you do? Do you go to get them hemmed, or do you try to figure that out yourself, or what?
Yeah, I wasn't hemming them. I think I was just kind of getting longer ones and letting them drag, or I'd roll them up.
Okay.
But at that time too, my mom wouldn't get me the clothes I wanted, and I actually got in a lot of trouble for shoplifting as a kid. Like I got rocked I was just the dude that would always get caught. Like, but a lot of my clothes actually came from there. So not that that's a good thing. Don't rob my Nahmias clothes, but.
What was the shit you would steal? Like, would you go for
At that
expensive
time-
brands, like, or just dumb shit?
At that time, it
Like,
was
you're not going to risk it for a pair of Dickies, are you?
No, at that time it was like Rock and Republic or like True Religion. Like at the time, that's what I was,
That was the
kind
shit.
of, I was throwing those on, and my mom was always like, "Where are you getting these clothes?" Like, and like looking forward, like I got in a lot of trouble, and then she took all my clothes away, but it all got tossed after a certain point.
So, were you just always like that kid in school who was into clothes, or are you just like anyone else? You just
I think I was just like anyone else. You
Yeah.
know, we all pretty much dressed the same, at least my group of friends. Like,
Yeah.
we all went to school, played basketball, went to the skate park. Like, we were all wearing the same things.
okay,
You know? Yeah. It was never a thing of like standing out, I guess. It was just like, it was just the culture we had. Like, that was
Yeah.
just what we were wearing.
Through high school, was it the same thing? Hanging, just kind of dressing like your friends. I mean, that's how I think most kids in high school are, right? You hang out with a certain group that are your friends, and you all kind of look and dress the same. You know,
Yeah.
everybody's got their little different groups.
Yeah.
Was it pretty much the same thing in high school? You just had,
I was at Santa Barbara High School, and that was more like when I was really hanging out with like the skate culture, and also I was kind of like really intrigued by kind of this gang culture. Like, I was just hanging around with some of the wrong people at that time.
Mhm.
I ended up going to another school called San Marcos after that, and I think my style kind of changed after that too, in the sense of just it wasn't so cool to be so just wearing the baggy stuff, and I kind of like I was really going to school and like my basketball stuff at that point. Like, I was like honed in on basketball and wasn't really thinking about fashion as much.
So what was the plan? Were you decent? It sounds like, I mean, you weren't like went into school or anything that much. What was the plan? Like, you're in high school, like when you're in high school, you don't really think like, what am I going to do when I'm 30? Like, you don't think
Yeah.
that far, but like you do think next steps. Like, am I going to go to college? What are my
Yeah.
friends doing? Like, what was your plan at the time?
With school, my plan, like, I really just loved basketball, so I was just playing basketball.
Were you good? Could you play?
I could play.
Okay.
I'm really good at basketball.
Do you
Like
play
that.
at Dom's court?
I play at Dom's
Shout
court.
out.
I haven't been.
Shoe surgeon.
Shout out surgeon. I play at Dom's court,
Oh, nice.
but those ones have gotten pretty intense. They got some hoopers out there.
Oh, for real?
But I've been really busy, so I haven't played too much the past few months. But yeah,
Did you think
basketball is-
did you think you could have played in college? Was that the dream?
So I played 1 year at Santa Barbara Community College.
Okay.
So, but that was something. Starting point
More than
guard
I
at-
played.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
As a kid, I want to be in the NBA, but then like high school and like once I was playing club basketball and travel ball, I was like, okay, like
It's another level.
yeah, I just realized this isn't so much a reality.
So then what? So okay, that every kid, I wanted to play in the NBA too. It's like, well, I guess I just got to get a job. Like, I just went the route most people do. I go to college, you just get a corporate job and kind of just fall down that path.
Yeah.
Like, how did you,
Um.
when you realized you weren't going to make it to the NBA, it's like, okay, now what?
Yeah, I think later on in high school, I really got a more entrepreneurial mindset is when it started to kick in. Like, I definitely want to be my own boss. I want to have my own company. I had no idea necessarily what that was. And then I think going into senior year of high school, I was like, really started to play around with like starting my own brand or like a streetwear brand. I didn't know exactly what that looked like, but I started to have the idea of like I should dabble in clothing or at least try starting a brand, what every kid wants to do.
Sure.
Basically, like,
I mean, now, yeah, every kid watching this, everybody who sees a clip on Instagram, yes, they want the hat brand or they want a sneaker
Yeah.
brand. But I don't know. I mean, how many years ago, when were you in high school? How many years ago? Right? I mean, so
I'm 30 now, so I was
Okay.
in high school
so we're over 10 years ago.
over 10 years ago. Probably like,
So it wasn't as much a thing then. I don't think. So there is something different. I bet your four closest friends weren't thinking about
Not at
starting a
all.
clothing brand.
not at all.
I'd
no.
say that your closest 20 friends, none of them were thinking that, but you
No.
were. What was the first Did you have like a peace of mind, or you're like, hey, I can't find the right pants. If I could make them.
I think really where it started was a store opened up in Santa Barbara. It was kind of like a streetwear store. I went in there and they had these shirts with just pockets sewn on them, like these pocket tees. It was a trend back in the day. Yeah. And I like fell in love. I was like, these are sick. They're so cool. Like I looked at the price tag. I think it was like $60, and I was shook. I was like, that's crazy. This is so expensive. Like I'm gonna just make my own pocket tees. You know, I think that's initially where it started. It's like, I'm gonna try and make my own version of these. And I went to like some craft stores, picked out some existing fabric patterns, and I found a local seamstress and started making like these t-shirts with pockets on them. Like that was I think the real start of like trying clothing.
Okay. How'd it go?
Terrible. It was trash. I think I made like 50 of them. Maybe sold one or two to like a friend's mom, but like I ended up handing them out to friends, and like I thought it was so cool at the time, but like looking back, but it was like the very first stepping stone of like dabbling into that space.
Okay.
I guess you could say.
So what made you do it again after you were making trash, you lost money? Like why go back?
I definitely have the...
Was it a fun experience, like the whole thing, even though you didn't sell?
That's the thing. I guess it was fun being able to create something and see it come to life, but no, it cost money. I watched my bank account go to zero, and it didn't go anywhere, and I didn't make money. So
that sucks.
All those things were not fun. But there was something about, like, at least my friends were like, yo, these are sick, and they were hyped to wear them, and we'd go to parties and they're wearing them. I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. Like, so that aspect was cool of being able to create something and have someone appreciate it and wear it and then feel good. I think that's kind of like initially what I fell in love with, but nah, there was no money in it. There was nothing fun about like driving to Ventura to get this seamstress to sew this, like all this stuff. Like there's a lot of things that weren't fun about it.
Do you think, and I've sat down with successful people like from all walks of life, and the one thing I think they all have in common is they didn't become successful at whatever they're successful at for money. There was always like a passion there first. Yeah. Do you think you have to have that to be really successful? You have to really just love
for sure
the process?
You have to love it for sure, especially I'd say in any industry, music, arts, whatever, but I think you have to love it, especially fashion, because it is a savage industry. It's really hard. It costs a ton of money, takes a ton of time, so you need to be like really willing to eat a lot of and to hope that it's going to work and pay off. So you have to really love it and like wake up knowing like I'm going to create something today, it's going to be great, but I'm going to eat a lot of
Yeah, because if I say I'm a business consultant and you came to me at 20 and said, hey, I want to start a fashion brand, I want to make t-shirts, I'd say, you're out of your mind. That's like that and opening a restaurant are like the worst things you could do. Go own a exterminator company or something, you know, something good. Like,
for sure.
Because you'd have to have rocks. I always say that about jeans. Like, you'd have to be insane to start a jean company. But yet, every fall, you go to Nordstrom's or Neiman Marcus, wherever, and there's some hot new jean that somebody just started. So there's still room.
You think they just started it, but they were eating 5 years before that, for sure. You know,
and their friends were probably calling them crazy. Like, there's a million. There's every jean you could imagine is already out there. Why would you start a jean company?
Yeah, for sure.
And did people tell you that? I mean, were the people like, "What are you doing,
definitely
bro?"
Starting out. I think it was years of just like I was working multiple jobs. So like I was working at Four Seasons, Chateau, a cafe in Santa Barbara. Like all the money I was making, I was just spending on making samples and patterns and like trying to build the brand.
Well, hold on, pause on that real quick.
Yeah.
How do you get from Santa Barbara to LA?
Okay, Santa Barbara to LA. So I just realized Santa Barbara was such a bubble, and I was like, if this is something I really want to do, I need to get to LA. So I found the job, moved to LA, and I was basically spending all the money I was making to try and make things. Some of my friends told me to check out a store called Maxfield.
Okay.
And Barney's. I'd never been there, never heard of it. At this point, I still didn't know much even about designers or luxury fashion. So I go to Maxfield, I go to Barney's, and like I was just like I was blown away. Like I just instantly fell in love with it. Like I just knew kind of streetwear at the time, and I was like, this is amazing. Like I want to be a luxury menswear designer. Like I fell in love with it.
What brand stood out? Like when you walked in there, like what was it? Was there certain clothes or just the whole store experience? What was it?
I think it was the whole experience. Like they had security guards at the door. You walk in, like you see the price.
Protecting them from kids like you trying to rob them.
Yeah, you see the price tag on things. You know, I didn't even know much about like Givenchy, Saint Laurent. There was a Miri. Like I think I grew up at. I saw an ad one time. I was calling it Givenchy. You know, like I knew nothing about designer stuff, but I fell in love with it, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. I discovered actually a brand, Miri, at the time. He was also not just starting out, but he was an emerging menswear designer, and I fell in love with it.
Could you afford the clothes?
Oh, definitely not. No, at this point, I'm barely paying rent. I'm eating oatmeal like negative $2, negative $20 like every day.
But
like,
you're like checking this stuff out like, hey, someday I'm going to be rocking a Miri or whatever.
Not rocking. I'm going to be making this stuff. Like I'm going to be selling this stuff, not buying it. Like I never kind of I would love to buy it to wear it, but I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to create like this on this level.
Well, hold on for a sec right there. That's pretty profound because I think most people walk into Barney's for the first time and go, wow, the staff's beautiful. The store looks great. The clothes are perfect. Like, I want to make enough money where I can shop here and not even look at the price tag, right? But you didn't. You are the one out of 100 or 1,000 who says, no. I want my to be there. I want other people to buy my I don't want to buy anybody else's.
Yeah.
Like,
instantly, I was like, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. Like,
where does that come from? That confidence to just...
I don't even know. I think it's a bit of ignorance and arrogance too, of like just I didn't know what it would take to even get there. I just knew that's what I wanted to do, and I just like decided in that moment like this is what I'm doing. Like and really there was no looking back since, and it's just been foot on the gas, and it's been a journey and a miserable one at times, but like there was just so much to learn. I'm still learning every day, but it's been crazy.
Didn't you end up didn't one of the first big steps, didn't you get an internship with the Miri?
So a big part of that was fell in love with Maxfield Barney's, and then I discovered this brand of Miri, and I was like, this is amazing. And so he ended up posting on his Instagram. He had like a trunk show pop up at Maxfield. So I ended up going to that just to go and meet him basically and introduce myself. I went and did that, said what's up, took a photo with him, like as a fan, I was like, this is amazing. And that was that. I think about a month later or so, I was in Barney's just looking at everything. And I was in Barney's and I was looking at his rack, and then I look behind me and it's Mike Amiri, and I was like shook. I was like, at the time I'm still like this fan, so we just talked a little bit.
What was he doing there?
I think he was probably just checking out his merchandise. How's everything looking on the floor? Like he was just
doing store visits.
Yeah, doing store visit. And I was like, yo, check it out. This is what I'm doing. Like I'm this is my brand. I was showing him just amateur, horrendous pieces at the time.
What was the collection? What were you making?
It was just like
t-shirts, hats, pants.
Yeah, it was t-shirts, hats, pants. But it was almost like it was me seeing all these pieces in Maxfield, and it was like me basically trying to recreate them. So it was nothing new, nothing original. It was just like me knowing like I want to do this. So it's like me trying to do it, and I was showing him like versions of what people were doing. I think that's pretty much what I had going on at the time.
It sounds like, just to pause on that real quick, it sounds like when you talk to musicians, they all start out the same way, right? They all start out learning to play this song on guitar, or I want to sing just like that person.
For sure.
And then like successful artists, sometimes like the first couple albums they have are just them trying to be somebody else. Yeah. And then they always say they had to find their voice. Is that true? I'm not a designer.
Yeah.
Did you have to find your own quote unquote voice?
100%. Like just until the past probably 2-3 years ago, I've really found my voice and found my DNA, and I think that was the hardest part. And I don't think you'll ever get anywhere until you understand what your voice is and what your true DNA is as a designer, as a brand, as a musician. And I didn't realize that, or I didn't even understand that until now, or until just more recently. So until you find your voice and know you have your own voice, it's just like you're just taking what you know you like, but it's not yours. So until you can create, your own DNA, your own voice, it's just, you're not going to get anywhere because it's already out there.
What did he see in you then? So you're just recycling other ideas. You show him his
he didn't see taste. He didn't see skill. He saw hunger and drive.
You can't teach that.
Yeah, he saw like, yo, this kid is just doing whatever it takes. Like, yo, this kid's hungry. And I think he saw a bit of himself in me. So that was our encounter at Barney's. And then he had, I think like 3 months later, he had another event at Maxfield, like a party across the street. I go, check it out. I show face. I say, what's up? He's like, you still working on yourself? Like, yeah, check it out. I'm still going. And he's like, yo, just stop what you're doing. Long story short, we met for coffee. He's like, yo, let's meet for coffee. And he basically told me, just stop what you're doing. Like, come intern, come be with me, and come just like, learn what you can and just stop what you're doing. Right.
Wow.
So that's kind of how my internship with Amiri started. I think he just saw like my drive and like just not stopping. And so he kind of, I feel like he wanted to give me that chance as a young designer.
Because you had that hunger and drive, which he could see. And I got a chance to know Ruigi a little bit. I interviewed him a couple times, and I love his story too. Check out the interviews. I just interviewed him a couple months ago at the Rude Fashion Show. But I love his story too, because he looked at it like, I have time. The only thing I really have to give is time. And I want to learn. I need to learn about marketing and, making, picking fabric and how do you, sew them and all this other shit. And he goes, so I'll just, learn. And I'll do whatever they want. I'll sweep up the floors.
Yeah.
He didn't ask for a penny.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason why he's successful, because he was just that hungry. People around you, and I'm sure you have kids coming up to you who are 18 or 19, want to be the next you. Is that the most important thing, the hunger and the drive, do you think, when you're looking at somebody to hire or bring on or mentor?
Yeah, I think you have to have that. I think I think you have to have the hunger and drive, especially in this industry, because there's so many talented designers and creatives out there, but not all of them can get stepped on and just like fight and feel all this struggle and keep pushing forward. Like a lot of these people might have skill sets, but they're going to be soft and it's just going to fade out. I think you need to really be able to grind through a lot of struggles if you're gonna get anywhere.
So what'd you learn there? I mean, short answer, everything.
Yeah, I learned so much there. Like it was amazing because I just saw kind of how a actual fashion company was run. It's like you got all your mood board, the designs, this like just seeing the flow of how a company ran was just incredible, because all I knew was myself just running to these vendors trying to do things. So being able to see how it operated was really cool. Like all I was doing at the time was picking up stuff from the dry cleaners or dropping stuff off to vendors, and like I was still having the time of my life. Like I wanted to be the first one there and stay there as late as I could. Like it was just a really special time to just soak in everything I could.
So you're doing all this at the same time. I'm sure you're obsessively working on your own stuff at the same time. Did you start to find your voice during that time when you were at Amiri?
No, at that time I really wasn't working on my own stuff because I was just learning all I could. And then I started to start my own capsule, or like, okay, I really want to do my own thing. Like I want to have my own project. So I think I put together a small collection and I showed it to him and I was like, yo, I really want to put this out. He ended up making an introduction to Mac at H. Lorenzo, which was my first account. And so I went there and he set me up that meeting, and Mac Lorenzo gave me an opportunity to launch the collection there and have a little trunk show. And that was like my official launch of my brand, and that was in 2018 in like February or March.
Wow. So about 5 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
how did the trunk show go? Was it a hit?
I mean, all my friends pulled up. I had Nahmias on the window of H. Lorenzo on Sunset.
That's pretty cool.
Like, yeah, I was like, yo, I made it. This is it. Like, I didn't like. My boy Devin was like, I had a shift like at 8 a.m. at Four Seasons that next day, and he's like, you can't go to work tomorrow. Like, you're a designer, dog. Like, and like, I literally in that moment, I think I emailed Four Seasons that I quit, not coming back. Like, I was like, I made it. That's it. That's a wrap. That was how that night went.
Did you make any money?
No. Lost money. Nah, I was broke.
But you were a designer.
But I was a designer. I was a hot shot. Yeah.
So what do you do when the
And then
feel good?
Yeah, and then
wears
reality
off?
kicks in. Next
Yeah.
day, I'm like, okay, we're not making money.
I
need
quit
to-
my job.
I quit my job. I need to make some more clothes. I need to make some more designs, and there's no money to do it. But I think quitting that job was great because it forced me to find new ways of making money. So then since at that point I started to have some vendor relationships and kind of understood how to make some clothes on a basic level, I started to do some production and development for other people in LA and other brands. So that was like my side hustle. So then I could still work on my stuff and do all these things, but at the same time I'm also doing production for other people or just helping and making a buck on the side.
Okay.
So
It sounds like the trunk show was a big thing too. And then I read the story about you going to Paris too.
yeah.
You go to Paris. Tell the story. And you had like just a couple meetings set up, and you just
So I
decided to go.
Yeah. So then
Was that around this time?
that was, yeah, I think about 6 months later, there's Paris Men's Market twice a year.
What's that? We don't. For us who don't know, it's like a fashion show.
Yeah, so there's spring, summer, and fall, winter.
Okay.
And basically there's market twice a year or 4 times a year if you're doing pre-collections. But you go to Paris, you set up a showroom, you have your collection out, and buyers from around the world are there during that week, placing their orders for the next season, watching
Okay.
runway shows, and it's just men's market.
Gotcha. So every designer's there.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So what?
Every designer that like wants to play ball and be in the
Yeah.
designer luxury space, you're out there. Yeah.
So how do you end up there?
How,
You're just. It sounds like you're barely just making ends meet.
yeah.
How do you
I
end up in Paris?
there? I don't know. God definitely has my back because, yeah, I have this thing that me and a few of my close friends call it. It's called RBL, is Rich Broke Life, where we all got no money, but somehow we have some cool friends and tied to cool connections. So we live this like great, cool life, and it looks like we're balling and
On
making
Instagram.
millions, but really our bank account's at zero. It's RBL. Which is funny, which is still RBL. But yeah, we go to Paris.
So was there a plan? You know the show's coming up.
yeah.
You just go. Let's go to Paris, guys.
Yeah, so I get linked up with this guy Luke, who's been a day one rider for the brand. He handles all of our wholesale and sales for the brand and a lot of just business strategy. He has a sales agency, but on Instagram I found him. He was just starting out with his sales agency at the time, and I was like, yo, I need to sell my brand, can you help me? And I met him randomly at some spot, and I showed him like a small collection in the trunk of my car. He's like, let's do this thing, we were just starting out together. So we got a small Airbnb in Paris, and went out there with the collection, and we're like, we're gonna get all these appointments, we're gonna get all these buyers to come in, we're gonna sell this. And I think we ended up going there, and we had like 2 appointments in like a matter of a week. We're just sitting there. I'm trying to DM all these buyers on Instagram like, hey, check out my collection, it's amazing. At the time, looking at that time, I thought it was so amazing, but it was not. But I'm telling all these guys like, hey, come to the showroom, would love to have you check out the collection. But we were just getting no traction at all. So we went to Paris, and it was just like that was like the starting point of really realizing how much work we had to do.
So you go from you're on top of the world 4 seasons. I'm
Yeah.
not going to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm going to Paris. It's going to be huge. I'm going to blow
Yeah.
up. The Barney's buyer's going to be there. I'm going to sell
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
To nobody showed up.
No.
Maybe my clothes aren't even as good as I think they are, right? Is that kind
Yeah.
of where you're at?
Yeah, kind of. Well, at that time, I was still so like ignorant in the fact like my clothes are so good. Why is no one coming to see it? But it was just me in my head, which is great that I had the confidence that it was so good, but it really wasn't. Looking back now, it all makes sense because I wasn't ready. The time wasn't right. Like if these buyers would have come to the showroom and seen that,
You probably couldn't produce enough, right?
well, nah, they never would have seen me again. They're like, this trash. Like it just, the timing wasn't right. And so it kind of worked in my favor that no one really came yet because I wasn't ready. And that was the reality.
So what do you do when you come back to LA? Do you hit the drawing board, literally?
Yeah, come back and hit the drawing board. Just keep doing the side hustle, making the money I can, and then just keep trying to improve my collections and designs and yeah.
Now, when does the Kodak Blacks of the world, shout out Kodak Black, I'm a big
Yeah.
fan. He, he's partnered with you guys, and you look, Lewis Hamilton's commenting, your Bieber's, wearing your stuff. When does that stuff happen? Because in fashion, you can't buy that kind of advertisement. That's what everybody wants.
Yeah.
Like, how do you even get on their radar?
Yeah, I think fast forward, so like doing that first Airbnb, was probably 4 years ago. So I'd say the brand really started getting its legs a couple years ago, and started to get some eyes and some awareness.
So you had 2 years from Paris to 2 years ago of just trying to redesign and figure it all out?
Yeah, just really trying to grind it out. Like just so much trial and error, so much learning.
Making not a lot of money, I'm guessing?
No, I'm not
Those
making
2
money,
years?
just making mistakes after mistakes. And yeah, just it was like that learning curve, just that swampy 2 years of just struggle, but like just head down, everything's gonna be fine, just keep going, that was that time. And then slowly like little things would happen. Well, actually, it was like that whole swampy era, and then COVID hits. Sorry, I think, which is, what is that, like 3 years ago now or something like that. COVID hits. That was like, I never had a moment of like, this isn't going to work. I was always like, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Like, everything's good. I'm just fully confident. And then COVID hits. I think at this point, the brand's in like a decent amount of debt. And it was just like, I had like this reality point of like, yo, maybe this isn't going to work. Like, do I just go back home? Like that, it was like my real one moment of like second guessing everything. Like maybe this isn't meant to be. So I never had that moment. So that was super scary.
And COVID's hitting at this time.
And it was COVID time. Yeah, it was
On top of it.
really f***ing scary. Yeah, I was like, this might be it. Like, I think I just had a mental breakdown and it was just super rough.
So what did you decide to do when you...
So
I guess you decided to go forward, but like...
Yeah, luckily I had a
What kept you... What made you not move back to Santa Barbara and get a job to pay off your debt? And
I think
pack
just
it in?
having a good support group. Like, I had good friends around me. I think I opened up like, yo, I'm scared. I'm struggling. I don't know if this is going to work. And like, you have homies saying like, yo, just keep going. Like, I got a couch. You're going to be fine. Like, you're like having enough people would just be like, you got to keep going. It's going to be fine. To the point of just like, yeah, just deciding like, okay, I'm going to keep going. Like, it was just a matter of understanding that I have people that have my back and knowing that I have a support group under me that no matter what happens, like, it's going to be okay. So I just figured, let's just keep pushing, but it was definitely a scary moment for me. Yeah.
Oh, I can for sure relate.
Yeah, because I never felt it ever. Like, I was like, everything's gonna be good, and then there was that moment of like, damn, maybe it's not gonna work. And I never thought I would have that.
It kind of, without getting my whole story, I'm kind of like at that jumping off point now. It's like I made a name for myself interviewing influencers and I get brand deals, and I have a regular job and it's all going. Then I decided I'm going to quit my job and do it full time, but I don't want to do influencers anymore. I'm more interested in like business people and stuff. Views tank, sponsors leave. And then I had that same moment about a month ago going, wait, maybe this ain't gonna work out.
Yeah.
Going from being so confident in an idea, then when you look at numbers and you have to really take a look at
Reality
yourself,
hits.
reality hits
Yeah.
eventually,
Yeah.
and you either got to go, okay, well, what are you gonna do here?
Yeah.
It's not easy to push through
No.
when everything else is telling you just pack it up,
Right.
and you just kept going. Was there a light, that was
Yeah.
there? Did you get a win? What was your first win after that?
That's
Because you
the
need some
thing.
small wins.
Yeah, I think I just decided to just keep going, and then ever since that moment, like there'd be those little moments of sunshine that just kind of like kept me going, like up to this point. Like I know, I think one of them being we ended up getting into Maxfield. Like all of a sudden we got the order from Maxfield, which was like ever since I started, that was the dream. Like I want my brand in Maxfield. So there was that win. We ended up opening a few accounts. We ended up getting some cool celebrity hits. I think my first big one that was special was when J. Cole wore Nahmias for a music video, because I like grew up a diehard fan. So that was like really cool. And just all these little moments of getting into stores that I didn't think I was going to get into, or someone wearing it that I didn't think would ever wear it. Just all these little things kind of just kept me going.
How does
Like
it
just
even-
enough, just enough to just like, it's going to be all right.
You need those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need them.
They're confidence builders. They bring you
For
back
sure.
up.
Mhm.
How does it even show up on his radar?
Who?
J. Cole's.
J. Cole.
Like at the time, like how do you even know to this day how it happened, or do you have to get in with the stylist, or how does it all work?
With him, it was getting in with the stylist. Like I was just spending so much time at this point on Instagram, like seeing what people were wearing, and then like seeing like, is there a tag? Was there a styled buy? And like really trying to tap these stylists and get cool with them to
Smart.
like help. So yeah, there was Rihanna, who's Cole's stylist. And she's been a day one supporter for me too. I think I shot her a DM and was like, yeah, I'm a huge fan of Cole. Check out these pieces I have. Would love to get them in the product. And I think she pulled it for like multiple videos. I think 5-10 times she tried it. And then like one time it finally hit, she's like, yo, check this out. And she sent me like a behind the scene video of Cole wearing my shirt. And I was just like, it was just like one of the best feelings at the time.
What advice you have for somebody watching this right now, and they're in Santa Barbara or they're in Ohio, and they got their little clothing brand, or they got their little car washing business, or
Yeah.
whatever their thing is,
Yeah.
and they're at that point where you were, where you're looking in the mirror and going, I got debt, I got no sales, I don't know if I can even keep this going anymore. Like maybe I
Yeah.
should just get a job. Like what advice do you have for them? How do they keep going?
If you really want it, like it will happen. It's just a matter of time. And then you have to be patient. You have to be smart. And as long as you're constantly learning and improving, like if you never stop, you will get there. You might not know when, but if you can be patient and find ways to keep moving forward and side hustle your way, like it will get there. But you have to just be able to sacrifice a lot of losses and a lot of just struggling. But if you're that committed and you love it, you'll get there. It's just time.
You said something earlier I was just thinking about, and I guess maybe this is being an artist. You were saying when you were in Paris, you finally kind of realized that you questioned yourself. Because as a creative, you have to have, I think, you tell me, but I think you have to have that overconfidence almost. Just like rappers, right? They rap
Yeah.
about being rich before they have it
Yeah.
as kind of a way to build themselves up, right? So you have to believe, I'm the I got
Yeah.
the best clothes they've ever seen. They're
Yeah.
going to be lucky if, they carry my line.
Yeah.
But then you also have to be self-aware enough to go, it actually ain't that good.
Yeah.
Like, how do you have the confidence, but then also live in reality? That's got to be a hard thing to do as a creative, but you're also running a business too.
Yeah, that's a tough balance. I think that just comes with I think just maturity through entrepreneurship. Like, I didn't start to realize that my clothes weren't good yet until my clothes started to get better. And then I'm seeing the evolution of like, wow, this collection was so much better than the last. Like, yo, last season was so bad. And then, but every season I say that. Like now I'm starting to like them all because I'm getting better. But like at those early stages, like every season would look garbage to me, which means, okay, I'm learning. Like at least it's getting better. And being able to have that self-awareness that like you have to be confident it's good in that moment, but you also have to understand like it can always be so much better.
We were texting like before we were trying to set this up too about things you wanted to talk about, and one of the things you texted me was like really profound. You were talking about how you wanted to talk about how, because my dad says this he was telling me this all the time. He goes, you got to put your CEO hat on once in a while.
Yeah.
He goes, because like I did this week. I want to make some tweaks to my website, right? And this is fun. Okay, let me see what I want to do. I'm wasting all this time. But then then I eventually slap myself in the face and go, is this making you any money right now? No. What the f are you doing? Do that later. That's like, stop looking at the shiny and like, you gotta, when you text me like that, I could picture my dad saying, you gotta put your CEO hat on sometimes. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a battle.
Because the designing's the fun stuff, right?
I think it's the battle between being a designer, a CEO, and fighting your ego. Because, you know, as a designer, you want to make everything. You want to make shoes, wallets, you want to make it all. But it all costs money. It all costs time. So, like, as a small brand, for instance, this past year, I was like, I really want to make sneakers. That's a huge endeavor. It's a huge expense. It's a ton of time.
They look great.
Yeah, they look great. But was it necessary at the time? I don't know, because we're still so small. We're still building our revenue in all these categories that we can be making money on. But now we're spending money on sneakers, which that's where it was like, that's where the ego kicks in, because I want to make shoes, so I'm going to make sneakers, you know, like. But
without going, how much is it going to cost?
Without going, how much is it going to cost? How much time is it going to take? Are we going to make money on it? Like, all these things. So it's like, we probably weren't ready yet. It ended up being fine, but like doing things like that and battling like what makes sense as a business and what makes sense as a designer, because I made sneakers because I love them. Did it make sense for business at that time? Probably not. So now I'm really understanding, like, taking a step back, how do I make this business profitable, but how do I also continue to do what I love and be able to stay excited through the whole process? And like, you just got to be strategic and fight your battles with all that stuff.
So I think that's the dream, right? Is exactly what you just said, right? I want to be able to kind of have fun and be creative, do all that stuff, but I also like and need money, right? So I also want to have a profitable business too. So what advice do you have for the creatives out there who only want to play and draw all day? Where you got to kind of be the grown up in the room too with yourself. Like, any advice on how you did it? Like, how do you prevent yourself from not making sneakers because the idea pops in your head tomorrow? All of a sudden you go, I want to make watches.
Because there's like so many shoes I want to make right now, right?
Say all of a sudden you go, I want to make watches. You don't think about, like, do I know anything about making watches? How much is it going to cost? Who's going to manufacture them? How do we sell them? Like, how do you prevent yourself from creating a watch line tomorrow because you just thought of it?
I think it still comes to putting the ego aside, because you want to do these things. You think it's going to be, you're going to put it out and then you're going to look so cool. Like, yo, this guy's making watches now. Right? But in the sense, you don't know about watches. Like, stick to Patek, Rolex, all these, they know what they're doing. You don't know what you're doing. So as much as you want to, maybe that's where a collaboration more would make sense. But to go ahead and just try and do these things that you know are going to cost money, but if it's going to be fun for you, but if it's going to like sabotage the business, then the balance isn't there.
Oh, do you have like advisors or mentors who kind of help you to not go make the watches tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a mentor of mine is Mike Amiri, still this day, and he's given me a lot of great advice, and sometimes I choose to still follow, my opinion, but in the end, he has 20 years on me, and his advice is probably a bit better, right? And that's still also the battle of the ego, again, of no, but I know this is right, this is what I want to do, but maybe, this is what you should do, but in 2-3 years, when your business at a different level.
Dominic, the shoe surgeon, put us
Yeah.
in touch and
Yeah.
connect us. And thank you, Dom. I'm a big fan. I really
Yeah.
connected with him. I interviewed him, and I just got to know him a little bit. We
Yeah.
both have kids around the same age and stuff. Just an interesting guy. But he paid you. He sent me a side text on the other than the text that we were on, and he paid you a really nice compliment. And he said he's really gonna go somewhere big because he's got his own original ideas. He doesn't just steal people's. And I thought about that, and I don't come from fashion. What do I know? Does that go on? I mean, is that? I mean, first of all, it's a very nice thing to say.
Yeah.
But then my question to you is: do a lot of people steal fashion? Is that a thing? And
100%.
are there really successful people out there who are just stealing other people's?
1,000%. Yeah. I think whether they're stealing or taking straight up inspo, I think a lot of that's going on. But I think it also comes with trends, and as designers and at even like all these houses, they got to stick to trend and still connect to these cultures. Like for instance, there was the trend of, you know, all these brands are doing skate shoes, Louis Vuitton, Givenchy, they're all Loewe, they're all doing these.
The Louis ones are pretty cool.
Super puffy, chunky skate shoes.
Yep.
None of these designers can bust a ollie or a kickflip, right? But they're knocking them out because they're cool and they connect with the culture, and there's nothing wrong with that at all.
But I would never wear those sneakers because I was never a skater. I'm old. I think
Right.
they look stupid.
Yeah.
I like a slimmer sneaker. But
people think they're cool, but you can look at it and be like, yo, you could go buy a Globe or a DC,
DC.
for $60, and they were like, you know, they wouldn't know better. But I understand it's the designer version, and that's just a part of like staying true and like connecting with the culture.
So even if you're not into it, do you still have, if you're Louis and you're the designer there and you don't know how to do a kick flip or whatever,
Yeah.
do you go, well, everybody else is making skate shoes, even though I don't really like them, I got to make them too? Is that how it works?
I think a lot of it is being able to stay relevant and, you know, still have like, they have all their house codes, but they're still continuing on with what the culture is doing, and they have to stay connected. So I don't think it's stealing or copying, but it's just connecting with culture and community in their way. Right.
Have you had ideas and concepts and stuff stolen from you?
Probably. I definitely see stuff out there. I'm like, that looks a lot like my shit, but it's just name of the game, you know. It's just gonna happen.
Sure.
But that comes back to you know, my success in the past couple years is really finding my voice, and so I'm not reaching anymore, because I realized like all my inspo is like literally right here, and going back home, and like it's all right in front of me. Like I don't need to go reaching. Like my story enough is nostalgic and is cool in its own way, so I'm gonna tap that. Like why would I reach for XYZ when I have it all right here, you know?
And I think that's the key, is you found your own voice. Because I get to do this, I get to sit down with some interesting people. I don't know about fashion, but I actually got to interview John Varvatos.
Sick.
He invented, you know, he invented the boxer brief.
Wow.
He was at Calvin Klein, and they invented, dude, I've been rocking boxer briefs for like, I don't know how many years.
Yeah, same.
I mean, it's crazy.
I got the Amazons on.
I got the Tommy John, shout out Tommy John.
Yeah.
But just talented guy. And then you go, well, how does a guy like him, or the only other fashion person now is Ruigi, how does that's even tougher, because that's streetwear culture and that stuff moves a lot quicker. When I look at both of them, I go, okay, how do they stay on top? It seems like they have a voice and a talent that can't be duplicated.
Yeah.
Anybody can make the same. I can go, oh, that's a cool black sweatshirt, and I don't know anything about fashion. I could probably today figure out a way to make a shirt that looks like that, right?
100%.
But I can't come up with the idea you were thinking about on the drive over here.
Yeah.
That's unique to you.
Yeah.
Is that the secret to long-term success in the fashion game? Is there's got to be some kind of special gift or talent there?
Yeah, I think you have to have your own taste. It's a taste level, and understanding what's gonna look good and not look good. You know, a lot of people have taste. There's some people out there with so much money and all these things, and like, this is what you're choosing to wear. You know, you can't buy it. You can't buy like swagger.
You can't look at the music people listen to.
Yeah.
You go, this is what you're listening to. This is garbage.
Yeah, but it's all
they don't know
taste,
any better.
You know?
It's taste.
They think they look fly.
Yeah.
And to them, great. So, in my opinion, nah. but that's just how it is. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my sense of taste people connect with, and it works. So it's not going anywhere because it's just my taste. Like it's engraved. And so just being able to use that, and then using all my inspiration that I know so well, it's a California brand. I grew up skating, basketball, surfing. Like, these are all codes that I know I can connect with on a very authentic level, and it's always going to be there. And then it's just endless on how you want to put that into a luxury environment.
It's funny because you did it and everybody else does the same thing. Everybody tries to copy everybody else at first. We talked about it a couple times throughout this, but you end up going, oh wait, there's something unique about me, and that's what ends up hitting.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for the person watching this who doesn't have the voice, and they know they have something?
Yeah.
I was this kid.
Yeah.
I knew I had something in me, but I really wasn't sure what it was. Right? I wasn't great at basketball. I wasn't great at sports. I wasn't, I'm good at talking to people. I found out when I'm 40 years old, like, this is literally, I can't hang a picture in my house.
Yeah, you're great.
I can just talk to people. Like, that's my only talent. Like, I wish I could play, for the Suns. Like, I wish I could play NBA basketball. But, right, this is what we got. This is, but it took me a long time to find mine. You found yours at a much younger age. Some people go their whole lives without finding it at all.
Yeah.
What advice do you have them for the person watching who knows they have something but can't figure it out?
I think it's a matter of getting uncomfortable with yourself and just exploring outside of, the boundaries that you're in. Like, if you have something, then you have to explore it. Like, whether it's going to make you uncomfortable on what environment you go to, or it's going to cost you money that you don't want to spend, or if it's going to take time or take you away from somewhere you don't want to be. But I think it's boundaries you need to cross to really figure it out, like what that is.
I got one more question for you.
Yeah.
You can't see it there because it's kind of blacked out, but we have a hat off. Somebody throw me that hat. I got hands. Miracle Academy. I saw this in the corner of my eye. It's cool. What does Miracle Academy mean?
Miracle Academy, it's been an evolution of the brand. I think it's been a slogan for us. Initially, it started out, I put Miracle on a trucker hat, and it was like right before the time I went out to Paris. I just put them online too. The first time I went out to Paris, we had no money. We had an Airbnb. I ended up getting tagged in a bunch of stuff, and my friend Maeve, stylist, texted me like, yo, check this out. And Justin Bieber was on Carpool Karaoke wearing the Miracle trucker hat, like, which was an insane amount of eyes, and it like was a viral moment for sure. But we had about 80 of those things in stock on the website, which I wish I had more at the time.
Hell yeah.
But like, we had no money. Like, we were just eating McDonald's in Paris every night. And then all of a sudden, like, my Shopify just cracks off, and we sell out of these Miracle hats. Like, and I was with Luke at the time. I was like, yo, we could get dinner tonight, dog. Like, we are eating, and it was like a sick moment, that happened for us. So like, that was like the really start of like Miracle getting like some sort of legs, and we ended up kind of creating a whole like world around it. So Miracle Academy is like that idea of, wanting something so bad, starting somewhere, not having anything to get there, but like the idea of like being able to get there is like, it's a miracle, because it's all just, whether it's hard work or whatever it takes to get there, like the fact that you got there is a miracle, like no matter what it is. So like Miracle Academy, I think, is like that whole culture around like really chasing what you want to get, and like it'll happen. And I think it relates to so many people, like ball players, athletes, like all these guys. I think like they've been training their whole lives, now all of a sudden they got their contract, and it's like their whole lives have changed. And I think it's a miracle, and all these people connect with it in different ways.
Dude, I'm about as regular as guy as you can imagine. I was selling, my previous job, I was selling kitchen equipment to grocery stores.
Yeah.
Okay? A year ago, I was selling dishwashers and ovens and to Whole Foods, was a big account. $5 million in kitchen equipment. But after grinding at this and writing at Forbes and just kind of starting this on my own, I remember one day, about a year and a half ago, I'm on conference calls about a broken oven. There's a broken bakery oven at a Whole Foods, and I'm talking to the regional managers and the store managers.
Yeah.
I'm on the phone 4 hours about your sucks and you got to reimburse all this. I get off my last call. I drive to Paris Hilton's house and I interview Paris Hilton, and then I'm, after the interview, kicking it with her for like the afternoon, just hanging out. And I go, in what world does that make sense?
Yeah.
I have no business being here. So I can absolutely relate to that story.
Yeah.
I didn't just end up on that couch.
Yeah.
That was 7 years in the making, from me blogging and no one was blogging, and then so getting a little shot, and all of a sudden I'm writing at Forbes and no one still cares, and all of a sudden I start doing video, and it doesn't happen overnight.
Nah. It's just the universe.
Just hearing your story. Your story didn't happen overnight. It took what, 10 plus years to get here?
Just to get here, and now we're like just getting started now, you know? So yeah, it's just a journey, and the universe has its plan as long as you're grinding toward that plan. So, you know.
Bro, I think that's a great note to end on. What else? What are we promoting, man? This was good. This was your first. Can we give Donnie a round of applause first of all? Your first full length interview.
Yeah.
I think this was good, man.
Yeah.
You dropped some gems.
Did I?
You got an inspiring story.
So.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I think so. Yeah. What are you promoting? Where can we find you?
You can find me Nahmias.com, and then you can find me in Maxfield, Saks, Neiman's, the Webster, Hirschleifers. We're in about 100 accounts now, so you can find us pretty much anywhere. Any luxury doors kind of around the world.
Guys, thanks so much, man. This was a pleasure, brother.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. New interviews every Tuesday, 10 a.m. with some of the most successful people in the world, and they teach you how to level up your game. It's time to level up. Thanks, guys.